the utmost pride and sincerity that I present this recording as a living testament and recollection of history in the making during our generation.
Hello, world. I'm back.
An anime that takes place within a fantasy RPG and not one damn Legend of Zelda reference? What the fuck? That's it. This anime gets a 0 out of 5, end of review. I'm gone. Wait. I'm just kidding, everybody. But only a little bit. Let me start by saying this one thing. Sword Art Online is way overhyped. Everyone really built up this show, and of course, when I watched it, I was left feeling meh towards it. The show is by no means bad, it looks very nice, and I like the idea of it, but I don't think it's the great anime that everyone seems to think it is. Well, having said that, let's move on with the review. Now, the show starts off introducing us to the world of Sword Art, Aincrad, where the game takes place. And we are introduced to our hero of the story, Kirito. Yeah, I just want him to be Link. You also meet the best character in the show, Klein, which is an allegory for every gamer dude.
Oh my god, my teriyaki mayo pizza and ginger ale! Why don't you just contact me?
Now, Kirito is the main hero of our adventure, and we learn he was a beta tester for the game. Now, remember that. It is important. Also, I don't know why, but it seems like he takes himself way too seriously, but I seem to be the only one that thinks that, so moving on. Now, after a while, our main plot begins, and we find out that the game's creator, Kaiba something or another, made it so that no one can log off from the game, and if you die in the game, you die for reals. And the only way out of the game is to beat all the dungeons. Now, here is my first major problem with the show. The reason as to why Kaiba does this is because he wanted to make a world where he would be in control. Now, if he had not gone all supervillain Truman show guy, he would have been the most celebrated man in the world by all of gamers. Hell, with fans the way they are, he would have been seen as a god, which for me makes his motives very unclear. I know I might be grinding a lot on this, and yes I am. I have some legitimate grievances, and there are much more. So bear with me. Alright, so where was I? Oh yes, the plot and story. Back to where we left off. A little while after we learn the plot device driving the story, we are introduced to a few more characters, one being the second best character in the show, Aggle, aka the only black guy in the game, which I'm not saying is racist, but And you see Asuna for the first time, which is something, I guess. Together, they beat the first boss, after which Kirito goes all emo lone wolf and decides to be a solo player, which is fine, but then he joins a guild of players who aren't as good as him, and they become friends, and yada yada, then die. Leaving our hero to blame himself and go on a journey to find a rare item to revive the player, only to find out it won't help him for dick. He then finds a message from his friend telling him not to blame himself, which is probably the most growth we see the character go through during the whole series, and it's good to see him go through that. Although he carries the guilt with him for most of the show, which you can expect, but sadly goes back to being his emo, bland self for the majority of the show. Now, as the story goes on, Kirito meets a few more females that fall under his emo spell and fall deeply in lust with his Hot Topic fashion and want him like a $5 TV on Black Friday, which is another thing that I think is a little too cliche and anime stereotype, but again, I seem to be the only one bothered by this, so moving on. He becomes one of the best players in the game and falls in love with Asuna, which we all knew that they were going to be together. She was the first girl he talked to in the show, and by anime rules, they were meant to be together. And they end up getting married and adopt a kid, which they find out Yui is a program in the game, but she ends up dying deleted. Kirito saves her to his helmet, but she's gone for, the rest of this adventure. Now, this is one of those parts of the show where it was supposed to be sad, but I didn't really feel sad again. I just felt meh towards it. Yes, it is emotional, but it failed to make me feel the feels. But I am a clinical psychopath, so I guess I don't really count. Moving on again. After living in marital bliss for a bit, Kirito and Asuna decide to stop living like old folks and go to the front lines to help beat the game. They go off to join the main guild to fight the latest boss, which turns out to be pretty hard because it forces Kirito and Asuna to give it their all to kill it. But in doing so, they find out that the leader of the guild is Kaiba, and Kirito challenges him to a fight. If he wins, which we know he's going to win, everyone will be set free. If not, the game continues. The fight is hard, and even Asuna sacrifices herself to help Kirito defeat Kaiba, in a grand testament to sheer fighting spirit and the human will. Afterwards, everyone is set free, and Kaiba gives a touching speech to our two lovebirds, and Kirito wakes up in a hospital looking like the Crypt Keeper and goes off to find his waifu. Now, that was the first half of Sword Art Online, and I gotta admit, it is pretty good, especially compared to the second half, although a lot of the story was rushed, and there was very little character development for most of the characters except for Kirito's and Asuna's relationship, while still making it seem like a very generic love anime story. And Klein got like no screen time, even though he is a leader of the one of the top guilds. But again, moving on. This video is getting long, so be sure to watch my next video to see my review of the second half of Sword Art Online. Now, I'm Airman, remind that you guys will rock, and signing off. Peace. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button and share it amongst your socials. If you want to talk to me and have future suggestions for other videos, tell me in the comments below. I will check them out. And also, check out some of my other videos. There should be some annotated things for you to click on to take you to them. Also, subscribe. Now, this is Airman. Remind that you guys all rock, and signing off. Peace.
Like a crack in the wall, you saw through the letters, you counted the cards.